What's going on, everybody? Mike here with iSMELL, and no, this is not a mirage. We are in fact back with another video. Listen, I have been part of this community for about 3 or 4 years now. If there's one thing I'm certain of, it's that the community moves fast. I'm sure a good portion of y'all are already in spring and summer, but hey, it's still cold outside and it's technically still winter. So what I wanted to bring to y'all today were some top tier cold weather fragrances that are guaranteed to level up your collection. These are fragrances that every serious fragrance enthusiast should absolutely have on their shelves. But I'm not here to waste too much of y'all's time, seeing as we do have quite a few fragrances to talk about in today's video. Let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, no honorable mentions. We're gonna get right into the nitty gritty, and I do apologize for that annoying plane, but I don't have too long to record, so I'm just gonna jump right on into it. This first one here does come from the niche world of Cologne. This one is the often imitated, often duplicated, but never replicated Angel Share. All right, so what I really enjoy about this one is it's a luxurious blend of both class as well as comfort. And I say class and comfort because this one can just as easily be pulled off in a sweater as it can dressed up. The notable notes in Cologne's Angel Share is going to include cinnamon, candied almond, praline, cognac, oak, as well as sandalwood. Now there is also some vanilla in this fragrance, but this is not a vanilla forward fragrance, nor is this a boozy forward fragrance. I'm gonna give you a couple sprays, even though I am well aware as to what this smells like. This fragrance is beautiful right out of the gate. So what I smell is a candied spiced apple. It's made smooth with that almond note. It's a bit nutty, and then you're gonna get beautiful woods in the base. The amber will shine, so will the praline and cognac. That cognac gives that wood, that oak, a bit of a damp smell to it, just slightly boozy, but not overly done. This fragrance boasts above average performance, and it is a unisex fragrance, so this is one that both men and women will gravitate to and like. It's definitely one that you should have in your collection, in my opinion, at the #1 spot. Again, from the house of Cologne, we have Angel Share. All right, so the second fragrance that we're gonna be talking about today is going to appeal to the type of person that wants to convey through their scent profile that they are put together and well established. That's how this fragrance makes me feel. We'll be moving on to the designer house of Tom Ford with this next one. We're gonna be talking about the Hype Beast, otherwise known as Tom Ford Noir Extreme. All right, so what I really like about this one is, in many respects, the scent profile, the scent pyramid is perfect. It represents the modern masculine male, what you would want to smell like. This is a fragrance that you could technically use as a signature scent. The notable notes on Tom Ford's Noir Extreme is going to include nutmeg, cardamom, coffee, orange blossom, amber, as well as woody notes. So I'll give you a couple sprays of this one as well, just to let you know. Let me grab these scent strips. I have 2 of them. Now, this is a beautiful fragrance. All right, y'all, so this one is warm, spicy, dark, resinous with warm, woody undertones. Again, I just really appreciate the scent pyramid on this one. So it's gonna open up, you're gonna get a bit of mandarin. It's not overly done. It just kind of invites you to the fragrance. Mostly it's gonna be warm spices in the way of saffron as well as cardamom. It's gonna move into some of the more gourmand notes with that coffee note, and it's blended with florals, which just kind of give the fragrance a bit of presence, a bit of oomph. And then in the base, you're gonna get creamy vanilla and then warm woods, amber woods. It's a bit powdery as well. So this is a warm, spicy, slightly powdery gourmand with a amber woody base. It's nothing that breaks the mold, but it just fits together so perfectly. Now, if you don't want to spend Tom Ford money, you can pick up Mercedes-Benz Select Night. I obviously have both. I just showed y'all both. What I will say is that the opening of Mercedes-Benz Select Night It doesn't smell like Tom Ford Noir Extreme. And then in the base, it lacks that same character and soul that Tom Ford Noir Extreme has. It just sits on your skin. The oils sit on your skin way better in the dry down, but throughout the mid, you do smell Tom Ford Noir Extreme in Mercedes-Benz Select Night. So if you want to spend about a quarter of the price, you could definitely do that. Tom Ford Noir Extreme is not a projection monster by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to lie to y'all and tell y'all it has above average performance, but in terms of a scent pyramid that just fits the modern masculine male and something that you can wear all year, it's definitely top tier. Definitely one that you should get on your shelf and in your collection. At the number 2 spot today, again from the house of Tom Ford, we have Noir Extreme. All right, so I totally understand as a collector myself that you want the most bang for your buck. If the Tom Ford doesn't cut it for you because it only has average performance, what I'm gonna be recommending now is a fragrance that's gonna be right around the same price range, but it's gonna have extremely great longevity and it's loud. Not only that, it smells good. We're gonna be diving into the house of Argos with this next one. The name of this one is Triumph of Bacchus. All right, so Triumph of Bacchus checks all the boxes in the sense that it has excellent presentation. It's very loud right from the jump, so it does project quite a bit. The longevity is great on this one, even more so if you spray your clothes, and it is the type of fragrance that will garner you positive attention, but it does come with the caveat. I'll explain that here in just a second. Notable notes in Triumph of Bacchus is going to include peach, rum, tobacco, saffron, amber, as well as musk. Now I'll spray this one for you as well. Very good atomizer. So this one's gonna open up sweet and quite frankly, really loud with peach as well as boozy rum, I believe it is. Yeah, rum. And it's very inviting, but it's almost inviting to the point where it's announcing itself. And I prefer fragrances to be discovered, so I would not personally overspray this one. So it does come across as really loud, almost borderline even obnoxious in the way it presents itself right out of the jump. But thankfully, the sweet fruity peach, and it's very syrupy almost too, begins to dissipate a little. That's when you're gonna get some of the more earthy herbaceous notes. Again, this is a tobacco forward fragrance, but it's also gonna have saffron. So you'll get a slight leathery vibe. And then in the base, you're gonna have a bit more sweetness, underlining sweetness as the fragrance dies down with tonka as well as vanilla, I believe. And again, there's amber, so there's gonna be some warm facets. The fruits never really go away. 3 or 4 sprays is the sweet spot with this one. But again, if you're talking about a fragrance that has bang for your buck, it's kind of hard to find dollar for dollar a better fragrance, and definitely one that is a top tier fragrance in my opinion, from the presentation all the way to the scent profile itself. Definitely one you should check out for cold weather. At the number 3 spot today from the house of Argos, again, we have Triumph of Bacchus. All right, so moving on to fragrance number 4, we're gonna be talking about quite literally one of my favorite scent profiles of all time, at least in the designer realm. There's a ton of dialogue surrounding this fragrance because of that new 2025 release. Fragrance number 4 comes from the house of Dior. The name of this one is Dior Homme Parfum. All right, so my bottle is about 4 years old. This is a 2020 bottle. I did check the batch code before I hit record today. And again, this is one of my favorite scent profiles of all time. Notable notes on Dior Homme Parfum is going to include iris, orange, leather, rose, oud, as well as ambrette musk. Now, I'm not gonna do too deep of a dive on this fragrance as I do already have a full and in-depth review. If you wanna check that out, I'll leave a marker. I'll spray it even though I am quite certain how this fragrance smells. And you saw not the hugest dent, so even with this being discontinued, this fragrance is gonna last me for years to come, so I'm not gonna start buying bottles and hoarding. I mean, I'm not Sebastian. All right, so you get a nice mandarin orange note right in the beginning, but it's not overly citrusy. It just kind of invites you to the fragrance, and then you're gonna get that signature, iconic, waxy, lipsticky iris in the opening right away from the onset all the way pretty much to the end. When you move into the mid, you're gonna get this oudy rose combo and leather accords that are quite nice. This fragrance is a perfect dichotomy of like masculine and feminine notes just blended together. And then in the base, it's gonna contain some of the best amberette musk that I've ever smelled, hands down, in designer perfumery. They don't make designer fragrances like this anymore. I have a hard time believing, a really hard time believing, that the new Dior Homme Parfum is going to smell better than this, but I understand the direction that they went. They're moving away from the iris more to the woody notes, and the new Dior Homme Parfum, I presume, is going to reflect and convey that. Nonetheless, this is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. It has excellent performance, again, even better when you spray your clothes. My recommendation is not a compliment monster, so if it's a fragrance that's on your radar, go ahead and sample it first. You might love it, but it might not be for you. But it is nonetheless a top tier fragrance that if it's a fragrance you want, it should be on your shelf. At the number 5 spot today, again from the house of Dior, we have Dior Homme Parfum. All right, so while a lot of the fragrances that I've talked about up to this point have featured vanilla, none of them I would say were vanilla forward. The fragrance that I'm about to talk about next is vanilla forward, and I'll explain to you why I like it as well. This one comes from Nishane. The name of this one is Nishane Ani. So again, y'all, we're not breaking the mold. All of these fragrances are fragrances that you may have even heard about, but at the end of the day, we're talking about top tier fragrances that are gonna level up your collection. All of these smell really great. Notable notes in Nishane Ane is going to include ginger, pink pepper, cardamom, vanilla, benzoin, as well as ambergris. Now, the reason why I like this one is because it's a mature vanilla. It's a mature masculine, well, technically it's unisex. It leans a bit masculine though, but it's not juvenile. It doesn't smell like something a 16-year-old would wear. It smells like something that a mature, well-established person would wear and put on. When you spray it, you're gonna get some citruses up top, but again, it's not overdone with the citrus. More so, I smell the ginger, and it's one of my favorite notes, so I was a shoo-in to like this fragrance. Smells good immediately, y'all. So you get a little bit of the citruses, they'll dissipate, and then you get mostly dry spices with a vanilla up in the front. As it begins to settle, it's gonna be enveloped by the vanilla, mostly dry spice, and then in the dry down, you're gonna get benzoin. It kind of just glues everything together, and then that warm ambergris to kind of just give it a bit of a push. It's a beautiful fragrance, one that should be in your collection. I do sincerely believe this is a top tier fragrance. In terms of vanilla, it's hard to find better for the price point. And price point, I bought this bottle for like 80 bucks, 80, 85 bucks on Mercari, so definitely not breaking the bank for niche perfumery. Definitely one you should check out. At the number 6 spot today from Nishane, we have Ani. All right, while some fragrances have a sunny disposition that smell like they're made to be worn on a day like this, other fragrances smell like their utility is for those days that are cold, dark, and drab and gray outside. We're gonna be moving over to Gucci with this next one. The fragrance that I'm gonna be showcasing is Gucci Intense Oud. All right, so I want to send a shout out and a rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. He's the one that put me onto this fragrance, and I'm very glad he did. This is a very loud fragrance, excellent longevity. It might be one of the best performing fragrances in this entire video. Notable notes on Gucci Intense Oud is going to include raspberry, frankincense or incense, agarwood, leather, ambergris, and patchouli. I really enjoy this fragrance. I wore it last week, in fact. Yeah, this is a dark, opulent scent profile that pays homage to the boldness of Middle Eastern perfumery. When you smell it, you're gonna get a fruity raspberry. The raspberry is akin to something that you might smell in Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather, as well as Rassasi's La Yucca Wam, which is a clone of Tuscan Leather, and it's on the same quality level as well. You're gonna get dry incense, smoky fruits, and then a certain woodiness in the base, that oudy woodiness, but it's not overdone. This is more smoky than oudy. And then in the base, it's gonna get earthy with that patchouli. So it's a very good fragrance, not overly complex. It kind of smells the same in the opening as in the dry down, but this is a fragrance that you can spray on in the morning and you'll smell 12 hours later, even if you, especially if you spray your clothes. This is definitely a keeper in my opinion. I do deem it to be a top tier fragrance. I don't wear it all the time, but every single time I wear it, I absolutely enjoy it. It's definitely one worth checking out if you haven't already. At the number 7, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 spot today, again from the house of Gucci, we have Gucci Intense Oud. All right, so while I won't be showcasing any blue fragrances in today's video, and no, it's not from a lack of options, what I wanted to do instead was pivot and kind of show y'all a versatile fragrance that could be used as a signature scent and be worn in almost every scenario. I do believe this next one fits the bill, and I apologize if I butchered the count at some point. I have fragrances all over. Fragrance number 7 comes from the house of Zaharoff. The name of this one is Signature Pour Homme. All right, so what I like about Signature Pour Homme is it takes the timeless elegance of a classic fougere and it repackages it for the modern dandy, AKA the modern gentleman. Notable notes in Signature Pour Homme is going to include lavender, pear, black pepper, myrrh, cypress, sandalwood. There's a ton of notes in this fragrance. This is a rich, kind of dense fragrance. That's why I'm recommending it for cold weather. I'll give you a couple sprays on this one. As a fougere should, you should have some sort of lavender, and this one is lavender rich. It's an aromatic lavender, but they modernized the DNA, like I said, with the inclusion of pear. It gives it some sweetness. This is not an overly citrusy fragrance, but you do smell the fruitiness, and it is, again, paired with just the most beautiful lavender note. As many fougeres generally do, you're gonna have some green herbal note. This one doesn't have herbs in it. Instead of it's a dark green note. It's a coniferous cypress note, a little festive almost, but it smells damp and earthy. And then in the base, it's gonna be very base heavy, this fragrance, in all honesty. You're gonna have that sticky, resinous myrrh. It just kind of glues everything in together. Performance is above average on this one. And again, I do believe it can be worn in almost every scenario. I have about 5 or 6 Zaharoffs at this point. Although it's not my most worn Zaharoff, I do still have a little bit of a dent, something slight. It's not my most worn Zaharoff, but it was the first one I purchased, and that's because I wanted to know, based on all the flankers, which direction it was going from. I needed to know what the OG DNA smelled like. It's definitely a top tier fragrance, in my opinion, and one that should be on your shelf for cold weather. It will level up your collection. At the number 7 spot, we have Zaharoff's Signature Pour Homme. All right, so moving on to fragrance number 8, we're gonna be talking about a fragrance that I picked up about a year and a half ago, and it was this fragrance that made me realize how much I love the note of amber. Fragrance number 8 comes from the house of Issey Miyake. The name of this one is Noir Ombre. Didn't fully focus, but that's okay. So again, yeah, this one made me realize I love the note of amber, and this is a designer fragrance that you will not smell on the Macy's shelves. It's a level above many designers. It's up there in terms of quality with Dior Homme Parfum, in my honest opinion. Notable notes on Noir Ombre is going to include amber, saffron, cinnamon, leather, tonka, as well as vanilla. Now this one is exactly as the name would suggest. It's a dark amber, and that is at the heart of this fragrance and made very apparent. It's gonna be chock full of dry, spicy accords right in the beginning. You do smell the richness right away. That richness becomes very apparent as it begins to dry down. It envelops the entire fragrance. This is a warm amber fragrance with some dry spices, and then in the base, you're gonna get warm, ambery kind of sweetness from that tonka and vanilla. But again, this is not a vanilla forward fragrance. This is amber. This is an amber fragrance with just a slight medicinal vibe. Again, another facet that you don't find much in designer perfumery. It is discontinued, kind of pricey. I don't know about paying $200, but at about $150 for this much juice, I do think it's warranted because it is a top tier fragrance and one that will level up your collection, in my opinion. It works beautiful in the cold weather. Definitely one that I would recommend. At the number 8 spot from the house of Issey Miyake, we have Noir Ombre. All right, moving on to fragrance number 9. We are going to throw a wrench into the mix with this next one. Normally you would not think of an aquatic as a top tier winter or cold weather fragrance, but could be further from the truth with this next one. Fragrance number 9 is the highly coveted fragrance from Acqua di Gio. We're talking about Profumo. So my bottle is from 2020, and yes, it is the magnetic cap. You see that dent in there. Starting to not be as liberal with the sprays, so I'm not gonna spray this one. Notable notes in Acqua di Gio Profumo is going to include C notes, bergamot, sage, incense, geranium, as well as patchouli. Now, as a collector, this being a top tier video, I do recommend getting it, but for the everyday casual, I would just recommend getting Acqua di Gio Parfum. I believe it's the 2024 version. It's close enough to where it's not gonna hurt your feelings to have that one versus this one, but I do prefer this one. Excellent performance on this one. That is one of the star things. So in terms of how it smells, it's gonna smell like Acqua di Gio. The essence of Acqua di Gio is retained, but it has some darker elements because of that incense, and because of those darker elements, this can be worn in the winter. And then it has floral geranium. So this is a floral aquatic fragrance with some dark nuances. I'm not sure if the 2024 Acqua di Gio Parfum has geranium, but that is definitely a note that I pick up in this one, and it's herbal with that sage, so it kind of has a cooling effect. This is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Acqua di Gio is a legendary, iconic, epic scent profile. Some might find it played out, but I enjoy wearing this one. I don't wear it as liberally as I used to. I used to wear this to the gym. I don't wear this one to the gym anymore. But it's definitely a top tier fragrance that will level up your collection for cold winter. I'm not gonna ramble. At the number 9 spot, y'all know what it is, Acqua di Gio Profumo. And last but not least, if you are still watching, big salute. Drop a like below. Please subscribe. Revitalize my algorithm because I haven't made content in a minute, you guys. So I really do appreciate y'all watching, especially if y'all are still watching now, because this is a long video. Last but not least, you know, fragrance has this innate ability to transport us, good or bad, and that's exactly what this fragrance's utility is designed for. This one comes from Maison Margiela's Replica line. The name of this one is By the Fireplace. So I don't have all the notes on hand. I'm gonna go ahead and post it up now. This was the only fragrance I didn't write the notes for beforehand, but I do know there's chestnut in it, vanilla, I believe there's Gaiac wood, but that's just notes off the top of my head. Obviously I said vanilla. This is a very smoky fragrance, so By the Fireplace, a fragrance called Replica By the Fireplace, should smell like you were by the fireplace, and that's how this one smells. It smells like chestnuts roasting on an open fire. That's what this one is. This is chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Smells like a fireplace, very festive fragrance. It's a fragrance that you can wear for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or just in general. I noticed that when it's very, very cold, that's when I like to wear this one. It's the type of fragrance that will cut through the cold, you guys. I have Rock by Wood Intense, and I literally don't wear that one anymore because of this one. Excellent performance, and you can snag a bottle for like $80, $90 on Mercari or the resale market. It's not that expensive. I would not recommend buying a 10 ml decant. They're like $35. Just spend the extra bread and get the full bottle. I don't wear it all the time. As you can see, the dent's not crazy, but it is a top tier cold weather fragrance, in my opinion. I really do enjoy this scent profile. At the number 10 spot, last but not least, we have Maison Margiela's Replicas By the Fireplace. All right, you guys, that's pretty much a wrap for me. Those are 10 top tier cold winter fragrances that are guaranteed to level up your collection. I really do appreciate you watching the video. More appreciative if you watched until the end. For those of y'all that are familiar with the channel, you know what to do. Leave a comment below, boost the algorithm. Let me know which one of these fragrances you want to check out. I'll send you a 5 milliliter decant free of charge just to show my appreciation for watching till the end. I'll send any one of these with the exception of Profumo. If you want a sample of this one or this one, out of everything I talk about, I'll send y'all that as well. Just let me know. As always, I love and appreciate the support. Listen, I can't promise that I have a ton of content coming down the pipe, but what I do promise you is that every single time I upload, you are going to be getting honest and authentic opinions. That has to count for something, y'all. Again, I really appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a blessed one. Take care. I really do appreciate y'all. Until next time. All right. Bye.